What's up, everybody? Dan Warmby with Keller Williams, West Ventura County here. Hope everyone's doing great. This week was kind of a weird data week for real estate. In June, new listings were up 5.5% year over year and an 11% jump from May. You'd think that was a sign that prices were waning and people are getting FOMO and jumping into the market. But no, larger markets like ours are up over 20% year over year. You would also think that with all of this new inventory, mortgage and purchase applications would jump as buyers snapped up all this new inventory, but no, again, mortgage apps dropped last week, 1.8%. And that's even as mortgage rates fell. So what in the world is going on here? Well, short term, I think we are going to see relatively a bit more of a buyer's market. But what's really interesting to me is that it really shows us what we might be in for in this sawtooth kind of pattern and mini adjustments for the foreseeable future. I mean, the macro aspects of this are really clear. To dig ourselves out of the dot-com crash, the government, monetary policy was set up to spur consumer spending by tapping the largest pool of capital that most people have, which is their home equity. That built up a bubble that eventually popped in the mid-aughts and spurred massive government intervention in purchasing by the Fed. The purchasing, bought up a huge amount of bad paper, but the price that people could command for their homes was severely reduced for a long time. And that's really bad news from a demographic point of view, because the first people to really feel the impact of that as they start to retire and look to their home equity as part of their retirement plan were the boomers. And that's the largest single demographic that America has ever seen. So government policy, if they don't want to have a crisis of retirees that have to rely on government services when they're older, needs to be focused on keeping housing prices high. But high housing prices don't do you much good if the market is illiquid, because no one can afford to buy a house. So policy has to ride this edge of this curve where housing prices are kept as high as possible while keeping interest rates and tax credits such that there's always a pool of ready buyers. This sets up this series of small peaks and valleys in the data as policymakers watch the market respond and then wait out that delay before that policy is reflected in the data. So what's the upshot of all this? Can you time it such that you can benefit from one of these little curves, purchase exactly when it's one of these little mini buyer's markets? Honestly, probably not. Study after study has shown that market timing doesn't really work. This is doubly true of your primary residence because it's not really an investment. Most people aren't going to treat it dispassionately like an investment and quit their job and yank their kids out of school and away from their friends in response to, a market condition. So my best advice is, if you're in this market as a buyer, is to purchase what you can afford when you can afford it, and just trust that the government policy for the foreseeable future will be to protect your home's value. So anyway, I hope all that helps. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you guys have, any questions, let me know. But have an awesome rest of your week, everybody.